Okay, for the final part of this video, we've been looking at decision trees and just trying to make simple decisions. Just going back to my screen, so far I've been talking about this question from your textbook where they were trying to make a decision as to whether or not to advertise or not to advertise. So if you don't advertise, well, simple, the chance is that if the weather is poor, this is what you'll get. If the weather is good, this is what you'll get. Of course, that chance still applies. So in a way, there's two chances, if you like, two sets of chances. Well, the first chance is the weather will be poor. So you need to just get in your mind the order. Will be poor. Then, of course, what happens if you then advertise based on the weather being poor? So in a way, you could almost argue that these circles should be smaller than this circle over here, if that gives you a sort of clue to the understanding of what's taking place. Right, so let's now calculate all the EVs, like I said, and work backwards. And so for this, I'm just going to go straight to your book, and it tells you here that these are the profit figures if you don't advertise. But once you chose to advertise, we need to deduct the cost of advertising. So from all these figures up here, I'm going to be deducting from all the profits from everything that's happening in this area here, from everything that's happening over here, I'm going to be deducting the cost of advertising. And I won't do that here. Scrolling down, you can see that they've done it nicely for us here. And we can see that, let's get that. So like I said here, there was a choice of advertising or not advertising. If we didn't advertise and the weather was poor, we would get that. We would get that. If we advertised, well, that was still going to happen, the weather. But advertising would have an effect, a 65% chance, and give us 50 students. The 150,000 is after I've taken off the charge of 15,000, as in the cost of advertising. Well, if I had advertised and unfortunately we had a 35% event occur, the 35% chance of it being no increase, I would still have to suffer. I would still suffer the 15% and therefore fall to 100,000. And because I only had 15,000 here anyway, I've lost everything if that didn't work. If the weather was good and there was no effect of the advertising, or if the effect of the advertising came in, I'd get 25,000. So I'll do all my EVs, go backwards, and let's see what that brings on the next page. And these are all the calculations there. And so what you see is this EV of, just working backwards, of outcome A, 35% of 100,000 plus 65% of 150,000, 0% of that, and 25% of that, giving you 6,250. So let's just go back and sort of see where these figures have come from. A and B. So you can see here, this is what we're talking about, A and B. So what we have here is 35% of 100,000 and 65% of 150,000 arriving at A, and then 75% of nothing and 25% of 25,000 arriving at B. Yes, you can see that over there. So therefore the outcome at C was pretty much 60% of this, wasn't it? 60% of 115,000 and 40% of 15,000 to arrive at C. Now D, of course, will be 60% of A, whatever we got at A, which came from this and this, and D, well, the sum of this, 60% of this, plus the sum of 40% of this. So D must be 60% of, like I said, and 40% of the of these figures. So these figures, if you like, have come from A and B. So D is a product of A and B. So now we can compare C and D fundamentally, aren't we? That's the aim here, isn't it? Like I explained earlier on. The aim is to compare what's happening between C and D, and that will tell us whether or not we advertise or don't advertise. Yes? And you can see that we have D is definitely, the expected value at D is much higher than well, not much, it's higher than the expected value at C by 7,000. And so therefore we should go with, our aim is to go for D. So therefore we will advertise based on the decision tree. But again, like you see, it means that we have all these probabilities available to us to make those decisions. Okay, great. So that's decision trees. Again, like I said, we will do more questions in class, but just try and please watch this video, go through this question, just get yourself familiar with the trees so that it's not totally brand new when we come to class. Great stuff. Now I will make the videos on, we'll start making the videos on the next chapter on quantitative analysis. Okay, great stuff. See you then.